Pressing the button, Mrs. Ryan. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello. Oh.
I'm extra excited, forgive me, with my woohoo.
I love it.
Situated over here. Hi, Mrs. Ryan. How you doing?
Hi.
Welcome back and stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody else and stuff. Sorry. We should... All right. Well, first of all, I'm not in my A game, but I am back, and I'm feeling much better. Hi, welcome back, everybody. Today is Thursday, July 18th, 2019. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans, and this is It's Tonight's show. Our guest this evening is Mr. Kevin Lynch. If you're watching this because you're a Porsche fan, you already know who he is. If you're watching this because you are on Instagram, you already know who he is. I'm going to say, for the purposes of our stuff, founder of the Wolfpack 901. He's much more multifaceted than that. We're going to hear more about that when he gets in here. For now, Mrs. Ryan, we should play a little catch up with everybody else.
Great.
How are you feeling? You look lovely. Look at that. You get some color.
Thanks.
We got a little tan, I think, a little bit.
I got a little color.
Yeah.
The heat knocked me out last week, but then recouping this week.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, you look really good.
Thanks.
What's been happening, though? We haven't seen anybody in a long time. We took two. Well, let's back it up, all right? When we saw you last, we threw to Breakfast Club and a bunch of weekend activities and said, we'll see you next week. Here it is, the end of next week. We're finally back. Breakfast Club was wonderful. Great crowd. Karina Roberts took photos. Those were all spectacular. Saturday. Oh, wait, hang on. We got some photos to go with this. Some of the photos. Saturday, we went to Auto Kennel for their big lazy Auto Kennel gathering. We have photos and a video for that, but we're going to get to it later since we're backlogged this week. And then after that, we went over to the Benton Barbecue, which was just as good, maybe even better. Saw many more faces. Had a real good time. A lot of cool cars.
It was great to see everyone.
Yeah, I drove that
Oh, I love
RS.
that car.
I know. Carrera RS.
What year is
It's a
that?
clone. It's a 73 RS clone built on a 70 E. No, T. No, E. I think E. Whatever. I don't know. Beautiful car. Anyway, but those events were spectacular. We had a great time despite the heat. We really stretched you out because we intended to be like maybe an hour at each one, sort of our usual thing. And we stayed at each one for quite a while and did quite a bit of socializing. I was very impressed with you.
Thanks.
How did you feel after all of that stuff? Because you pushed yourself a little bit.
I felt great. I've been feeling a little stronger, and I've noticed been around a lot of people with great energy.
A lot of
and
positive
a lot
energy.
of kindness, and so that helps me immensely because it takes the worry. I realize it takes the worry off my brain a little bit, which gives me a little bit more energy when I can just
for life, yeah, and
Yeah.
to just be.
So it's super fun when we do stuff like that.
And then after that, we still did Malibu and muffins on Sunday. We had even more fun there.
Yeah, we packed Malibu Kitchen by accident.
All of a sudden, there was a Goofed Cult run with Adam Conley and Platinum Palomino and what's his name, Mark, and everybody. But big group came by, and yeah, we did. That place ended up packed to the point where we took off. But all of that wonderful goodness. Somewhere in there, all of that wonderful festivities, I ate something or did something that did not agree with my mouth, and I ended up having a wisdom tooth get painful and have to be yanked out. So
Yeah, it makes me. I think it
so
just makes me nauseous thinking about it.
I was gonna put the pictures in, and then I
Nope.
just decided. I was gonna tell people they could look away if they wanted to or not. We have a photo of the thing, whatever. So that's why we haven't been here. We had two wonderful guests scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday. Those have both been rescheduled, or one has and the other one's working on it. Whatever. That's being handled. So they will be back soon. And I think that's all of the catch-up stuff I had to do. But sorry about that. It couldn't be helped. The day that I feel like I lost a day. I feel like I lost a day completely.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what it is because I was thinking, oh, my tooth was yanked yesterday, but that's not true. It was the day before. And then it's already Thursday. It feels like Wednesday. Are you screwed up too, or is it just me because of the stuff?
A little, but I can see more clearly why you're off.
The day between the weekend and the show we were supposed to do is the day I lost, I think, because I was almost in bed in tears just trying to make everything go away.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you to Toluca Lake Dentistry and Dr. Lai specifically. This is not a paid promotion or anything, but they did get us right in and take care of us and make me not so hurty. Had time to go to the dentist. It's tooth hurty. Hey.
Hello.
All right. That's it, Mrs. Ryan. Some East Coast feeds, and then on with the show, if that's all right.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, so we've got some stuff to check in with here. I believe with Brooke and the Casman, when we last saw them, I believe there was a story about the phone, and I think that's what we have here today. Roll it out.
Hi, Jay and Nicole. Steve died, so it's me now. Okay, can you get it off of me now?
Brooke and the Casman. Apparently, someone wanted to tell you a story while we're at date night in New Milford on Bank Street. Again, yes, historic Bank Street, Mr. Ryan. Go ahead, Brooke. Tell them about your phone.
I'm not good at stories.
This is so trying. You see what happens, Mr. Ryan, when we use her phone for these things? Anyway.
How's that picture? Crystal clear, huh?
Jeez, shoot me now. Anyway, so we're in Jersey at Ray's house on the shore. And what happens? She hands me my hat with like the phone in it, and I didn't know that when we were getting on the boat, and I dropped the fucking thing in the goddamn ocean. It was a nice little car. Look at that. So I dropped the phone in the ocean. Unfortunately, the iPhone was toast at that point.
Well, it's still on the bottom of the ocean.
It's still at the bottom of the ocean, and I did actually jump in after it, and it didn't help. It was no good. So she was going to tell you that story, but she's a little camera shy. Anyway, we love you guys. Brooke, anything else to add?
Are you going to tell me too?
We're in New Milford and Zaragoza. There's an actor here, Chris Maloney. Anyway, unbeknownst, it doesn't have nothing to do with the story. We were trying to talk about her phone that I dropped in the ocean. Brooke.
Yeah.
That was an awesome story. I'm glad we did that. Okay, Dropbox next time. Love you guys.
Not only are we cracking up, you can't see Kevin Lynch off screen is cracking up quite a bit too. Whoops-a-daisy, more to come. Oh my goodness, the whole system's crumbling down. Oh man. I don't know where to start, but I think you were laughing over the fact that Chris Maloney was at the restaurant with them at the same time.
That's who it was. I love that guy.
I know.
So
I told
hot.
you he was a local area.
Oh.
You know him from Law and Order, but I think most people Oz, right? Yeah, Oz.
Yeah.
HBO's Oz. Oh my gosh! Well, that was totally worth it. Not that you're asking for opinions or judges on this, but I'm going to have to say, not your fault. If somebody hands you a phone, a hat, hey babe, can you hand me my hat? And you do, that it happens to have your phone in it and whatever else. I mean, it's kind of like I'm really grateful the car keys weren't in that hat.
I have to go with you, but Brooke, I have to give you huge props for being awesome because I don't know how I would have handled it.
Oh, good stuff. All right. I think it's both of them again. Let's see where they are a couple days later. Roll it out.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, East Coast Feed, coming to you live from Coney Island, because me and Brooke and Big Kenny and Pete and Jen are about to head to the Cyclones game. And Brooke, for the first time ever, went on the Cyclone. Brooke, how was that Cyclone?
It was fucking awesome.
She was so excited. She doesn't like roller coasters. Bit of love. Kenny didn't want to come on because last time Kenny got a little ill. So that's it. Sending some random love from Brooklyn. Watch, we're going to get to the historic. There it is. Boom, parachute jump. Like that? Bam!
I mean, I got to give him credit. He knows me well. I do like the historic stuff. So when I think of Coney Island, I think of, the old steeplechase, which is not there, and the old parachute drop, which the rig is still there. So
he goes to all your hops.
He knows his audience. Yeah, that's for sure.
Good job, Cass.
Oh, man. All right, one more from Coney Island. Roll it, Hal.
Part 2 of the Brooklyn Experience. We are at the art wall exhibit. For everything around us, there's different art walls throughout Brooklyn. It's kind of cool. Got some pretty neat stuff kicking around. They even have a bar in here, which is kind of cool. As you can see, this is outside right by the beach. Pretty neat either way. Yeah, we see it, right? Brooke already ran ahead because she's trying to get to one of the other art walls back there. We'll get to her. Love you guys.
Whoopsie daisy. Got a little confused. Too many buttons there. We need a Chad. We need Chad to be in during the show. Stop just interning, setting everything up.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ryan, I think I'm all caught up.
Yeah.
It's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. It's punchy. And I'm on medication, by the way. Not painkillers, but I am on all that other stuff. So, I feel my head is definitely... Also, I haven't been around people for a few days, so it's a little weird.
Yeah. I'm not the only one that's holistic in my efforts.
It's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
What's going on, Mrs. Ryan? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, no. Cow cuddling is the newest craze to ease anxiety.
That's it. Get yourself a therapy cow. That's awesome.
Everyone's figuring out how to do whatever they need to do.
Yeah, I'm on
So,
board. If
I'm on
hugging
board.
a cow makes you feel better, I say you do it, buddy. I mean,
Go.
as long as a cow is in agreement.
There's a farm about 40 miles south of where I'm from that's really making this a thing. Like they've got two that they kind of rent out for hours at a time to be like, just get with nature. They move slow and they've got higher heart rates and they're warmer. Lower heart rates and they're warmer. So it apparently helps.
Yeah, soothing. How about milk a cow, maybe?
Maybe.
What do you do? Do you just hug it?
It depends on the temperament of the animal and the person that's
probably
going.
good advice.
So I think they case by case, but there's options.
So good.
So good. This made my heart happy, not because I want to use them, but because of the message of diversity that they're kind of Apple is making part of their plan for the fall emoji launch, and they're going to include disability icons.
Oh, that's cool.
They're
is it cool? I don't know. Is it cool?
It's cool.
It's nice to have something. Why wouldn't they? I mean, I think it's unfair to not have them. So sure.
I agree, and they've got 5 that are for like visual and hearing input, like a guide dog and a.
It's funny because I'm one of those people who I don't really care for the race selection. Like all my stuff's yellow because a smiley face is yellow, and that's what all of these things are based on.
Yeah.
Not because I'm Asian and I'm racist and making some statement or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not. There's not a thing about it. So every time somebody like specifically picks the white hand or whatever, I silently judge them because I'm like, you chose to do that. You chose to do that.
It's like a 3-step process.
You chose to let people who didn't know you were white know you were white. And it's weird to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the diversity ones for handicaps are like bionic arms and shit. So
that's nice. Well, just a wheelchair in general. Anything, crutches, anything like that stuff.
By
I
all
support
means.
it. I would like
However
to see a
you
cane
need to use it.
if there isn't one already.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a Mrs. Ryan cane emoji.
Hey, speaking of Mrs. Ryan, or unless this is in your news, can we talk about some news that I saw that you changed your Instagram handle?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
It's not my news, but I changed my Instagram handle. Mrs. Ryan 111.
Yeah, that's nice.
Getting
On brand, I'll tell you that.
On brand, synergy, I like it, and it makes more sense.
Trying to funnel down the complications. I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right, thanks for that.
No more complications. Paul McCartney is writing the musical to It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow.
Right?
Can't think of anyone better to do it, but I wonder what it's going to be.
I don't know.
Is this for stage, for film?
For stage.
Wow, that's cool.
So, there two
he's
things.
A good person too. On top of being a Beatle and a talented person and all the other stuff, like I really believe he's philanthropically. I think he's a really good person.
I think so too. I can't imagine a better person to bring back.
I don't know Sir Paul McCartney very well, but from what I understand,
good messages he gives out. Yeah. That's what I like. Yeah. So
and
I'm excited about
the peace and love element. I mean, that whole peace and love thing it's hard to fight that.
That's him,
especially these days.
Yeah, you're right. That's him. So It's a Wonderful Life. He's making a musical about it on stage 2020, I think. So next year.
It's one of those movies that as I started to grow up, I started to not watch every year because it's like it's on every year and you watch it every year and it's sort of a thing, and you kind of grow up and it becomes less important. Maybe it's something you used to do with your family or whatever. I find as an adult, oh my gosh, it's almost like kind of like the people who go to church every year. Like, oh, it's a nice reminder of It's a really good movie. I mean, all those Frank Capra movies are good.
I just watched it last year for the first time in a long time, and I feel similar.
Yeah, okay, good. It's
It
such a
should
good
be a
movie. It's
staple.
almost like a re-upper of, hey, be a good person. Hey, keep your head on straight. Hey, don't get caught up in the bullshit. Hey, you know.
You're going to be fine. I like the message of like,
Yeah.
going to be okay. Lastly,
Oh, boy. Pre-ding.
this made me laugh so hard. Steph Curry, I think, is my favorite person outside of you.
The
And
guy I
you've
don't
worked with
know
him.
but worked with, he's really famous basketball.
Yeah.
And we had Steph Curtis, who I kept saying Steph Curry, and that's not right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
He's got the brother. I worked with both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the therapy ad or whatever.
Yeah.
He just is the most, I don't know, but he comes across as one of the most supportive husbands I've ever seen.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
His
This is
wife
funny.
opened her 4th restaurant, and it's like Aisha, I think is her name. So sorry for mispronouncing that, but kudos on the 4th restaurant. It's in Del Mar, California. It's nearby-ish. But she was like dancing, and he went after the trolls that went after her, and was like, "Open your restaurant, man. Dance away."
And we may have skipped over it. The gist of it was he posted a video of his wife dancing, and then the internet trolls jumped in and making fun of her and the whole bit, and then he came to her defense against the internet trolls. Is that about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he posted the initial video.
Oh, I don't know either.
Oh, well, I just saw his clapback at like supporting his wife, just being like, "Dance however you want,
Yeah.
babe. It's
Yeah,
your 4th
absolutely.
restaurant. Go to town."
Absolutely. You celebrate.
Yeah,
You
so-
be Elaine. I saw the video, by the way. I didn't think it was that bad.
It wasn't. It just made me.
I mean, I'm not a good dancer, so I'm a terrible judge, but I mean, certainly I'm
Neither
not
am
going
I.
to chastise
And
somebody else for however they dance, that's for sure.
kudos to both of you.
Class houses. Oh, shoot! And that's been. What's going on, Mrs. Ryan? Oh, boy. Gosh, there we go. Sorry about that. All the buttons got jumbled
Welcome
up over
back.
here. I know. It's great. I feel like I can see everything better. I feel like having that out, like, it doesn't matter. That's for me. Mrs. Ryan, I think we've dilly-dallied enough here. We've chitter-chattered enough. I certainly have. Let's take a break. Let's get Kevin Lynch in here. Let's find out all about him and tell everybody else as well.
Great.
The Wolfpack, I want to talk a lot about that. I want to talk about Heidi. I want to talk about everything, all right?
Yeah.
All right. And then I
Awesome.
want you to ask some questions, too.
Okay.
Okay. More to come right after this. Kevin Lynch in that chair. See you in a few. And everybody ready?
Ready.
Well, with that, we are back sitting here with Mr. Kevin Lynch. Hello, Kevin Lynch.
Hello, hello. It is so cool, or super cool, as I constantly say, to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for
Well, this has
coming.
been a long time coming. We've been trying to do this trying to put this together anyway for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I want to say like over a year.
I give Mrs.
Is that about
Ryan, she gets the persistence award, right? She's like, you will be here on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Well, and then you ended up being the only show this week. So
I feel
thanks
very
for that.
privileged. I'm opening a new segment for you, I think.
Oh, I wanted to talk. We're going to get that right out of the. All right, you
know,
launch it. Go ahead.
You've got, amazing Porsche community folks, builders, craftsmen, the Rod Emerys of the world, the John Bettons of the world. You've got all these, my favorite segments are the comedians.
Oh,
I am so big on that. I'm the new segment. I'm the dude segment.
the dude.
Just a dude. I'm just a regular dude.
That guy.
This is that guy.
I always wanted to do a segment with that guy, with just like character actors from movies. You're that guy.
I love
He's
movies,
the
by
guy,
the way.
but you're the character actor from all of the car shows. We see you at all the events. You're always having a fancy, nice car, always having a fancy, nice conversation.
just part of the community, a little bit of the fabric, right? Totally part of the fabric.
I really don't know where to start with you because while I'm very fond of you, I don't really know that much about you. And we've had conversations and we've certainly shared correspondence over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Did we just meet over Instagram? Is that how it started?
I think it did, actually. I was
Okay.
just doing my normal Enigma thing and, not showing it all. No, I mean, I think we did. I think I sent you guys a note and said, I love what you're doing. This is amazing. Because I look at the car community that we all enjoy, and it is really a community. I mean, and I didn't see it until I was in it. And then you look around, you're like, okay, this is something special. It's not just a friend that you see every coffee and cars. It's not just someone you see at Luft. It's not just the cars. In fact, I think the cars are
ancillary.
They're completely context, right?
I love that context.
But the community that seems to sort of rise out of the den a little bit that you find yourself part of, it's a really powerful thing, right? And so what I saw you guys doing when you first started was, wow, this is actually putting that community online, right? It's making it real for all of us. It's visible. It's powerful. So I've been a huge fan.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That warms my heart. I mean, you know what? I feel like you aligned with what our mission statement was from the beginning of, just pushing authenticity and bringing people together, and the fact that we're not hiding that we want to be the old-fashioned Tonight Show hang for all of our car people and the comedians and whatever. Yeah. Providing something that just isn't really out there now.
It's not.
Not these days.
It's not. And I love the bare knuckles conversation, right? Like, there's a lot of curated content in the world today. In fact, we're swimming in it. And some of it's really good. Don't get me wrong. There's times when you're on a 14-hour flight and a little curated content is just what you need to make the miles pass. But there's times when you just want that authentic conversation about what's going on in the world, right? And it's maybe I'm getting older, maybe I'm getting more reflective on what life looks like, but this matters. This is cool. The goods and the bads of the world.
I just find that on television anyway these days, there's nowhere to find the old-fashioned back and forth.
Right.
And maybe that's what you're talking about curated content and just overproduced content.
Right. And the same story. My middle son, great kid, we were at dinner last night, and somehow a movie came up. It's got about a 90% probability of some movie dialogue at a family dinner. And we were having sushi, and it was great 80s music, 90s music in this place. And my wife goes, yeah, it's always 80s and 90s music. Where have you been? You've been asleep at the wheel. We've been here 14 times.
It's not a theme place or anything. That just happens to be.
They like 80s and 90s music. Sure. And so we got on the topic of Breakfast Club because I happened to watch it on the flight home from Munich. And my wife's like, how was it? I'm like, it was just as good this time as it was the first time, right?
Isn't that funny?
I
didn't like that movie as a kid, and as an adult, I'm quite fond of it.
I think
because I get it now. I didn't get it
There's
when I was a
things
kid.
I didn't get, right?
Yeah.
And then that spurned on a conversation. Did it come before or after About Last Night?
Oh.
A little nuance, just slightly.
I'm going to have to say before. Yeah,
just slightly
is it before?
1 year before.
That's tough, though.
I guessed wrong on that, and then that spurned on a whole conversation of, are they all the same movie with just variations of the same actors?
All the John Hughes.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, they are kind of, right? They're all coming of age, coming over some sort of hump somewhere.
But they make you feel good, right? They make you feel
What's
good.
your favorite John Hughes movie?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer it myself.
Everyone throws The Breakfast Club out, right? I mean...
Yeah, and that's while I like it now as an adult, it's not what I would have said. I've got a couple others.
Right. I mean, truthfully, they're all how you saw them in that point in time in your life. And About Last Night, even though it wasn't, the hookup scene wasn't my thing per se, that at that time in life for me, I was living here in SoCal, not totally sold on SoCal, grew up here, was thinking, gee, I have to go somewhere else. I have to do something else. That appealed to me, the sort of go somewhere, be something, do something different. So I'd actually put that up high on the list.
Wow. Not bad. I don't even know that I've seen that one all the way through. The subject matter was a little, well, like you said, it was only a year later, so it was a little ahead of where I was supposed to be at that time.
Good for Rob Lowe, good Jim Belushi content in there. I mean,
no kidding.
Yeah.
I love Jim Belushi.
He plays his best friend, and they're sort of protagonist, antagonist types of roles. It's cool.
That's funny.
I'll have to watch it. I don't think I ever saw it.
I have to put Planes, Trains, and Automobiles up there for me, just because. I mean, it checks so many boxes, and then they're all eclipsed by the fact that it's John Candy in one of his best roles for me.
Unbelievable.
So I mean, it's one of it's almost it has an unfair advantage.
Well, and the finish for that movie, it's like a great glass of wine, an aged Bordeaux. The finish for that movie makes it all to me.
I'm with you 100%, and I get it more. The older I get, the more I get it.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, maybe being older, being married now, having a wife you care about, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, it's Neil Page's, Steve Martin's characters. I don't know if I'd call it a catharsis, but epiphany for sure during that movie.
Right.
Because the last time we watched it, which is sort of a Thanksgiving movie, I'm pretty sure. So I think that's sort of like our Groundhog Day. We watch that one every year too, mentioning A Wonderful Life earlier. That one to me, when we watched it this year, I felt like it was... I always thought it was John Candy's movie, and for me, it was the epiphany that Steve Martin had that he never would have thought about that. He never would have gotten out of his own mind and thought about someone else and gone back. For me, that's the moment. And then for the rest of the 5, 6, 7 minutes of the film, I'm just...
I love the story, right? Because to me, it's this, we all get in our grooves, whatever our grooves are.
Yep.
And we optimize our grooves, right? Like it's the human condition. Doesn't matter whether you live in a cave or you live in a mansion or anything in between. We try and make it as good as possible. Some people call it nesting. If you're a woman, whatever you call it, right?
100%.
We all try and make it better. And to me, Steve Martin is the great characterization of executive doing his thing, and he's optimized his life. And then life isn't linear, right? So it throws him a curveball. And then he finds a different part of himself at the end. That's a cool story, right?
Yeah.
It's a very
Good
cool
reminder
story.
that we should all stop every once in a while and even self-disrupt to find that other side of ourselves.
So maybe the genius in these films is that he, almost like an old-fashioned cartoon, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, where like the kids are laughing because the Bug Bunny's getting blown up and is thrown around and everything, but the adults are laughing at what the material is saying.
So agree. Yeah.
It's sort of the same kind of a film.
I think that's, I always get asked, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite music? What's your favorite song? I don't know, right? I mean, because it's all where I am at that
For
point
this
in
moment,
time,
sure.
in that
Depends.
moment, right? It just depends, right? So I always feel like, does that make me agnostic or does it make me eclectic? I guess I'm going to go for the latter.
Well, you just got back from a big trip. I'm switching gears a little bit.
gears.
You just got back from a big trip because I want to talk about you, because you're right. I could talk about life forever, and I'm hoping that we'll do that next time. But I want to
For
tell
sure.
people more about you for right now.
Absolutely.
Just got back from a big trip. Not work-related? Work-related.
Not work-related. As I was saying to Nicole, like, I have spent the last 2 years in this global capacity that I had working for our firm. Firm will go unnamed. Common asterisk disclosure. This is personal, not a firm statement. But 700,000 miles over the last 2 years. So all over this big blue orb,
Wow.
doing lots of different things, clients and parts of our network helping out. Really, really cool job. Very physically draining. I mean, that's an awful lot of time on the road. And the index that became measurable for us a lot was, did you fly longer there and back than you were on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
That was one. And then when you looked at the balance of the week that you were gone, if you were gone 6 nights, how many of them did you sleep on a plane versus in a hotel bed? And there were a lot of those, right? So it was very physically taxing. So I've had a few friends say, why on God's green earth did you go on a long trip for your vacation? Why didn't you just have
That's
the
it.
consummate
Staycation. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hang out by the
Order
pool.
food, stay by the pool. That's a fair question.
It's
What's
a
the
very
answer?
fair question. So 2 things. We strung together 2 little things that were going on in our life and made a trip around it. So my wife's best friend, and I was jokingly calling my wife, who is my total soulmate, I was calling her Frau Porsche when we were in Germany. She did not like that. So, honey, I officially apologize for calling you Frau Porsche. You are now Fraulein Porsche. Even though that violates the German construct of language, it's a much more attractive thing.
Yeah.
So her best friend in the world, they grew up together, was having her birthday. She also married, second marriage, she married a great guy who grew up in Bolzano, Italy. So they were going to have the event in Bolzano. So we wanted to go for that. And then my son, my oldest son, is working in Tel Aviv for the summer. He's a junior going into a senior year of college and got an internship in Tel Aviv.
How is it there right now, politically, climate speaking?
It's actually, they're nervous about everything that's going on in the Gulf.
Yeah.
And the proximity.
That's
you
kind of
get
what
it.
I mean.
You get it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you stand up on the mountain.
It's like stress radiation, I call it. You know what I mean? It just kind of emanates from
It's
wherever
there.
the source is. Yeah.
It's there. I mean, they're an incredible nation and incredible people that they get on with their daily lives no matter what. I wonder sometimes what we would be like if our neighbors were as close and if they were as disposed. But, overlooking Jerusalem is a mountain called Mount Olive. It has religious significance. But that notwithstanding, you stand up there and you look down on the West Bank. You look down on the walls. You look out and you're like, those mountains right out there, that they could be the Hollywood Hills. That's Jordan. It's super close.
Wow.
Wow.
You don't appreciate it until you're there, boots on the ground. And I think they get a little nervous about what's going on, but life is still moving. And Tel Aviv is a hopping city.
Wow.
I mean, it's got a nightlife. It's got a food scene.
That's what we were saying.
It's
It
cool.
sounds awesome.
Has a little bit of a late 70s Paris thing going for me.
What's a nice era? That's a nice.
Yeah, and I don't know how I get there, but that's where I get to. So
There's a romance to it somehow?
I think so. And, and certain parts of the town are new, certain parts are old, certain parts are cleaner, certain parts are dirtier. It's got a little bit of that going. The financial district literally looks like a street in Paris to me. It has a little bit of a bend to it, trees up the center. I could pick a street in Paris and say, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
But him being there gave us a second reason. So, half the trip was in Germany/Northern Italy, and then half the trip was in Israel, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It was fantastic.
And how long were you going?
About 10 days.
All right.
About 10 days all in. And we had a blast. I mean, one, it was great to see family, another to see friends. A little bit of selfish behavior on my part. I rented a Macan for the trip.
Oh, there you go. Keep it in the family.
So drove it in sport mode the entire 2,000 kilometers. Didn't care that it chewed up more gas. It really didn't matter to me. But we drove from Munich down through Bavaria, which is just stunning land, up through the Alps, and then down through the Dolomites, and then used it to go all over northern Italy, down to Verona, and then eventually back up through Austria, Innsbruck, and then into Munich to drop it back off.
Wow, that's so wonderful. I've never driven a car overseas. Does the, here if you drive your car down into a different country, all of a sudden your nav disc doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that an issue there? I would think it wouldn't be because crossing borders is so customary. It's so natural because everything's so compact.
You are the perfect straight man for what I'm about to say.
Okay.
So there were two things about the nav. We were doing the phone nav and the car nav.
Oh,
They didn't always agree, which was interesting, but
I guess I was specifically asking about the car nav, but
so
the phone nav is a
the
different
car
thing.
nav did two things that were fascinating. One was we went to drive into the Dolomites and down, and there's a little 5 clicks down into the navigation system that you have to go and say toll roads on or toll roads off. And especially in Austria, you have to buy a coupon to drive on the roads if you don't have a normal license and permit for Austria.
Makes perfect sense.
So we bought the coupon and we're like, okay, we're compliant, but we didn't click the little thing in the nav. So it won't take you on the Autobahn. It'll take you on side roads.
Oh, because you didn't unlock the streets you could. Yeah, sure.
And it took us over the Penne Pass, which is like one of the most stunning, twisty, like amazing roads in the Dolomites. Over that thing, I think we climbed, 3,000 meters, 2,500 meters up through all these great twisty roads, very quiet. The top of it, there was a little refugio. People were sitting out on the deck drinking beer or whatever.
Wow.
And then we went back down the other side. It was stunning. My daughter was in the back.
So this ended up working out.
It was a total blessing.
Wow.
Right? I mean, just stopped at the top and just took it all in. So that was amazing, like a fortuitous error, right?
Wow. And the Dolomites, of course, don't drive.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. It's a terrible joke.
It is a bad
Mennonites.
joke.
Mennonites.
The Mennonites don't drive, but the Dolomites. I want to go back and just go there.
Yeah.
I mean, the hiking. We did some hiking, and hiking was off the hook, just off the hook.
Yeah.
And
Well, the scenery, I can't even
the
imagine.
scenery's just
the
amazing.
topography.
When we were there. There was a Porsche drive that went through, and I'm like, okay, how did they get on
just
that?
jump on.
I want to be in that. But they have these little refugios, which back in the 40s when they were built were little camps to go to the bathroom and get some water. Now they're not much fancier, but you can get a killer, like 5-star meal at each of these. So
No kidding.
you hike, for a half a day and have a great meal and hike back, and incredible. So that was really fun.
What a surprise. Did you know that going in? That to me would be a surprise.
The friend's husband from there was sort of a really good on the ground guide.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you don't have to spend a lot. It was like local fare, table wine, but it was really cool. It was
Yeah,
really,
it sounds like
really
a wonderful
cool.
experience.
The not so
That's
good.
the type of traveling we used to do in Hawaii
That's
or
right.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
We would just kind of hang out with the locals
Go
or our
local.
friends from there because I mean, they're going to tell you to go to the most expensive tourist trap in the joint. And say, I want to go where you go. Where do you go?
Where do you
Tell
eat?
me where you eat sushi.
Absolutely.
That's where I want to go.
You go there, go local. The not so fortuitous nav thing is we were in Bolzano and I went to take.
Wait, I missed the joke there. There was supposed to be a joke that you were going to keep a straight that I was going to be the straight man for.
Well, that was the straight. Like you set this up perfectly. The other was. I went to drive out one day and I've got the car loaded with people and we're headed to Verona to see Romeo and Juliet's whole sort of
the
setup.
tower and the whole thing, yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think I can go out here. The nav says I can go out this way and take a right. I end up on a pedestrian-only cobblestone street with about 4 inches on either side. Eventually asking my wife, could you pull that mirror in so we can get down this? Lady with a stroller with a baby. yelling
Shakespeare
at me in
actually walked
Italian.
here.
That was a little bit, not so good, right? But you roll with it.
But as far as crossing the border points and entries and all of that stuff, it's all just kind of, it continues working, right?
Very seamless. It was
Yeah,
great.
okay.
It was
It's
fantastic.
kind of a Europe disc. It's
And-
not just a
No advertisement for the company, but if anyone wants to ping me, they were amazing.
your rental company.
Rental company. They literally met us at the curb in the Munich airport, handed us the keys, put the bags in the back, and then met us at the curb coming back.
Wow.
Took the bags out. So it was like seamless.
That's first class for a rental
simple.
car.
Good service.
Best price I could find too. So it was one of those places where you weren't paying the premium. Car was in impeccable shape. It was a 2019. Drove unbelievably. I'm like, okay.
That's the brand new
The
one,
brand
right?
new one.
Wow.
And I love my vintage cars, but I'm like, okay, this thing was off the hook.
Yeah.
And we did the Gardena Pass and the Sella Pass. So we continued to do all these passes up in the Dolomites. It was so cool.
That's amazing. All right, well, you're back now. Cars? Should we get into cars a little bit?
Let's talk cars.
What cars do you have currently? Because you post a lot of pictures on Instagram. We'll start with that.
The cars currently. So I drove Moby today. All my
Okay.
cars have a name. They have
Okay.
to have a name. I don't know where that comes from, but they have to have personality.
Since you were a kid, has it always been that way?
It has. My first car was a 1968 Volkswagen Bug.
Great.
Great car.
Great.
Love that car.
You've been in the family from
Oh,
first
I've been
car.
air-cooled from the first car. And it was a hand-me-down. My dad bought that from a friend at work that had purchased it, driven it for a handful of months, and then said, I'm done. And that was his thing. We had several family cars that were like 6 months
Came in that
used.
way, sure.
And it was driven, throughout the family. I'm the baby of the family. 150,000 miles, leaked a quart a week, well used, paint looked like dust, and it was Delta green. And somewhere along the way, 60s era, Vietnam's going on, it got the name Puff the Magic Dragon.
Oh,
So that car was Puff or Puffy as it eventually became, right? That's probably where this whole darn thing started.
well, that's coming around again.
Yeah. So that's probably where the naming thing kicked off. But I drove Moby today. Always good to have air conditioning. So it's a long haul. It's good to have air conditioning. I love that car.
What is Moby for anyone who doesn't know?
Moby is my 93 RS America. Number 179 of 701 produced. Great car.
And
I
it's
feel very privileged to have that car.
Moby. It's in white.
White, Grand Prix white, sunroof delete, limited slip, and
It's the one you want.
It's
It's got all the.
and I'm the third owner. The first
No
owner,
kidding.
the first owner had it from birth. Picked it up at the dealership in San Mateo. Drove it for the majority of his life. He unfortunately passed away. He put some 29,000 miles and change on it.
Great. I mean, in
over
how long?
20 something years.
Oh, okay. That's not that much.
Twice a week to and from the office, garage to garage. Next owner owned it for 5 or 6 years, whatever the total was, and put 500 miles on it.
Whoa.
Yeah,
So you're the
Super
first
low.
one to drive it.
I am driving it.
Jeez.
To me, and he was a really great owner, good Porsche file, wonderful guy. Screamed at me. I was referred to him to buy the car, and then when I called him, he was like, "I'm not selling this car." He was angry. He screamed at me. I'm like, "Why did I make that phone call?" I hung up as fast as I could, and then the phone rang 5 minutes later. He's like, "I'm sorry about that. I was just having a moment." And I said, "Well, why don't we do this? I'll drive down and we'll meet, and we don't have to do some transactions. Let's just
See
get
how
to
the
know each
energy
other."
is,
Right.
yeah.
And it was good, right? And it was good. So that's how it came into my life.
Well, this is probably you're the guy to ask this question. It's a special car. didn't get driven that much, which is not really that good for any of our
No.
Porsche cars, let alone the special ones. What did you have to do when you got it? Did you get in and drive it and it was fine? Did you have to, holy shit, really?
I got in and drove it. And I don't know if it was karma, kismet, whatever you want to call it. I pulled in the driveway and the speedometer read 29,964 miles, and it's a 964. So I'm like, okay, this there's some magic going on here.
You know I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah,
so.
there's some magic going on here. Like, I took a picture of it. Like, I'm going to keep this car forever. So everyone, this one's not for sale.
What color is that?
It's Grand Prix white. Very simple. And I've kept it really stock. To me, I want to, appreciate as it came from the factory. I've done a couple of very small things. I took the original floor mats out and put some replicas in just so if I demo them, no big deal.
Do they say RS on them or something?
They do.
Oh, so
They do.
that makes sense.
I
But look at you. You drive it, yet you do maintain it to that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do both.
I did in the first handful of months do a few things. It's a twin spark factory car. That's a belt-driven second distributor. They had a service notice that
Factory
the belt-
option?
It was a factory standard.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it was belt-driven versus gear-driven, and the belt gets an ozone condition and breaks down, and if it snaps, very bad. Like that distributor will fire on a cylinder and basically arc weld the cylinder, so it's very bad. So did that service replacement, and then said, the rubber on this car is 25, 27 years old. Let's change out all the suspension rubber. So did that, and then
All
took
the bushes, everything.
all the bushings out. Just
that
did
makes a car feel brand new.
much better.
Yeah.
And then
We're due for that on
little
your car.
increments, right? So then I took out it's a dual muffler. I took out the first pipe and put in what's called a GT pipe just to give it a little more throat.
Lose a little weight too.
Dutifully bubble wrap that and put it away. So
Oh,
it can
boy,
always
look
be
at you, of
factory,
course.
Right? And then I had
Dutifully bubble wrapped.
Dutifully bubble
hermetically
wrapped.
sealed.
And then a friend of mine, Mr. 993 down in Houston, a good friend of mine, Rudy, who you've probably seen at a
Oh,
lot of
I've seen
lifts.
his videos. Yeah, he's got the collection of all of the crazy colors and everything.
Unbelievable
Beautiful.
collection. 993 is centric. He had a pair of 8s and 9s Cup 1 wheels in Porsche Hyper Black. And the factory was a 7s and 8s. I'm like, I'll do that. So I took, again,
makes a
dutifully
huge
bubble wrapped those original wheels and put those on.
But that is one of the reasons your car looks different.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. I gave it a little, and lowered the ride height just a little bit with some, so just to give it a little
Yours
more of the
doesn't
Euro.
look low. It's more like the Euro look.
Euro
yeah.
look, right. That was what I was shooting for. And I love driving this car.
Do you remember the day a car went off? We don't really talk about that anymore. Same car.
Same car.
Special car.
I know
Very
about that
special
story,
car.
and
Yeah.
thank goodness that driver was able
Yeah,
to walk out.
The best part of that story is that nobody got hurt. That's all we
Unbelievable.
care about.
Unbelievable, but
Yep.
beautiful car. So that's the newest car in the fleet. The Bahammer, the 68 912 is the.
So you say Bahammer. I've been saying Bahammer all the time because it's been in print, of
and
course.
you know where that came from? That was Mr. John Benton.
Oh, really?
We were at his shop one night, later than both of us would probably like to admit publicly. We were having trouble tuning it, and everyone had left, and he's like, "I'll get this right for you." So we were drinking beer, and
Becomes a personal mission at some point with him.
yeah, he's gonna succeed,
Yep.
or your fingers are gonna be bloody trying to get there.
Right.
And somehow the word "this car is gonna run like Thor's hammer" and Bahama Yellow got jumbled up.
Now it makes
and
sense.
Bahammer was
Bahammer.
born. That's where it started. So it got named. But that's obviously my baby. I mean, I took that from a very well loved used car bought on the Central Coast of California,
And the Bahammer is a what year?
1968,
912.
912. Original numbers matching, but an enhanced
3 gauge,
motor.
5 gauge.
5 gauge.
4 speed, 5 speed.
5 speed.
5 gauge, 5 speed.
But twin spark. So we let John do his magic with the motor, and it's just like 135 horsepower versus the stock 92. And I did some tasteful mods. I'm not exactly
Those numbers are so
factory.
low that it doesn't sound like much. You almost have to get into percentages.
You
and when
do.
you say, oh, it's 55% more power or whatever, it's a big effing jump.
When I've handed the keys to people to drive that car,
Because you're expecting an old VW Bug kind of a.
absolutely, right? It's a little four banger. But when I've had the keys and said, "Here, take it for a spin," people come back and like, "Okay,
It's the sound too, though.
it's a great
It's the
sound
sound
car."
too.
But the 911T of that same era, only had 110. So you got to put it all a little bit in perspective.
Yeah.
So I love that car. I mean, that's a little bit of my overbuilt car. Like, it was my first restoration. I wanted to do this and that and learn. And so there's a lot of me in that car. I get periodically people saying, will you sell it? And it's like, that's a little bit of the soul.
Yeah.
How much am I worth?
And then John and I are working on the Das Wolf project. So you'll periodically see me reference that publicly. It's a 1956 356A Beehive coupe, sunroof coupe. And I bought it in the Netherlands. There's a long story there, but I was going to buy a car in Southern California. We were within literally a few $1,000s of each other. We agreed that we would part ways, come back in the morning. The guy sold it.
Ah.
So, and he's the seller. He has the right to do
whatever he wants.
So I was really, really, really been out of shape. Fraulein Porsche, otherwise my wife Katie, came home and said, "What are you so bent out of shape about?" And I go through this long diatribe about what happened. She's like, "Well, look, you're good at finding this. Just go find another one."
Yeah, that's the answer.
And I kind of looked like,
that's where the Porsche wives come in and save the damn day.
yeah, I'm like, where's the pea pod that you came out of? Like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, no emotion whatsoever.
So I found this car and brought it home.
What a great reference. Nice.
Yeah. So we're rebuilding that. It's a bit of an outlaw because it was never a numbers matching. It was a bit of a mutt, really good body, but a mutt. So it'll have a 901, effectively a 901 underside. So it's got 901 or early 911 suspension, brakes, all the gear tunnel, everything else has all been redone, and it'll run a 2.7 4-cylinder motor in it. So a bit of a beast.
So it's a 901, but a 901 was a 6-cylinder.
So other than the motor is a Dean Polo motor. So, which I was originally going to put in the yellow car, and then back
the yellow
away.
car. Oh, Bahama.
The other yellow car.
Bahama.
The Bahama.
No, I think of it Bahama, even though it is yellow. I think of it as an orangey car.
It is more orangey. You're right. I mean, that and signal yellow are so close. It's almost as if
the light could change that one.
And Hans was sitting there, and they're like, "We'll put a little white in that one. We'll put a little brown in that one." And then they're like, "Oh, we have 2 color codes. How cool is that?"
Oh, Hans.
Exactly. For all the people in the world named Hans, by the way, sorry for using that name, but it just sort of works, right?
Totally works.
So those are the 3 that are in play. I've had others. I had the Irish, which was the 66.
Where is that now? Because the photos of that still pop up left and right.
It's right in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Really good guy in my neighborhood bought it, and then a week later took an assignment to go to Switzerland.
Oh, my gosh. So he bought it and parked it?
He bought it and gave it to another neighbor to run with. So it does get out and drive.
Oh, good.
Incredible car. I love that car. That was a hard one to let go. But at 3-gauge, 66, early 66, and Stuttgart build, not Carmen build.
Carmen, right.
So a bit of a unique car. And It was
Cool.
a restoration in process that the owner basically gave up and said, I'm out. I'm done. And I'm like, well, I'll buy it. I tried to get a friend to buy it that was looking for a car. He wouldn't. It's like, well, we got to bring another one back on the road. And I enjoyed it for a year. Originally, my plan was to give it to my wife, to Fraulein.
Really?
Porsche. That was my original plan. She was born in 66. She's got
wow,
beautiful
that's
green
perfect.
eyes. I'm like, this is perfect, right?
But
66.
Yeah. But it's gone now.
She looked at me. I know there's a story there, isn't there? She looked at me and she goes, I love it, but it's just too much for me to look after.
Good for her.
I kind of got the credits without,
Yeah, big
High
time.
five.
And I appreciate her honesty of the whole. It's amazing. It's nice. I appreciate it. I'm not going to keep up with all that.
Every day.
This is your thing.
Yeah, this is your thing. She loves being part of it. She actually runs the foundation that we started in Wolfpack. So
look at you.
She's part. She's part.
Every moment I'm like, okay, well, the next thing, as soon as he's done talking, and you're segueing already.
This is chemistry.
Mr. Natural Speaker over here.
This is chemistry.
Wolfpack 901. I was having a conversation this morning with Mr. Nicholas Hunziger, provides our wardrobe, of course.
Incredible guy.
And we were talking about
artist.
you and this, because you were going to be on the show today, and the Wolfpack and what exactly Wolfpack 901 is. And I we've talked about it before. I sort of know, but I also bungle it when talking to other people. So you're here, you're in the chair. Why don't you tell everybody what is Wolfpack 911?
Well, I definitely bungle it too. So let me just.
And Nicholas wants to know what your deal is. So that's why I'm specifically asking.
So the mission of this foundation is to help young people that may or may not be college bound, but let's say more likely that they're going to go and do something in a trade tech way, vocational orientation, and they've got to get a start. And you look around, it's a big cliff event because they could go work for a new car dealership and become a tech. That's great. But if they want to get into this vintage world, you look at most of these shops, they're what, 6, 7, 8 employees? That's hiring 15% of your workforce. These are big steps.
Yeah.
And most of them don't want to take the time to hire someone new and train them and develop them. They don't have the capital to do that. So
let alone just the time in general, the effort, the resources.
It's really hard, right? So our theory was, if we could solve a couple of problems at the same time. One, help someone young to get over that gap by getting them some skills. Two, help, as I call them, the masters, these magicians that are keeping the fleet going, the Rod Emerys that are making them better, the John Bettons that are doing it their way, the John Wilhoits, et cetera, help them to pass on some of the literally hundreds of years of institutional knowledge that they have in their head. If we could marry those two problems and solve them, fantastic, right? And it all started by saying if we could do it for one person, it would have been worth it. So the notion was,
meant it. I mean, that was. I remember when we talked about this originally.
Yeah, it's look, we all have to find ways. It's sort of back to the Steve Martin reference in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We all have to find ways to help others, because if we optimize for ourselves and not anyone else, I don't like the way the movie ends. Right? It's not going to be a good day. You're going to get a very polarized society, right? Yep. And it will end badly. Human nature doesn't deal with that all that well. That doesn't mean you have to give away everything. It just means you got to find a way to bridge the gap here. And so, and we all think about grandiose plans like, can I change 40,000 people's lives? There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with how about just change one, right? Because if we do that incrementally, we've made a big difference, and you do it again and again. So the idea was fund an apprentice that has a passion and no skills for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months in a shop, not to do cheap labor, but to give the shop the incentive that they get someone that they're willing to invest in. It doesn't cost them a dime. We're paying for their salary. For the young person, they're getting paid, so it's not like it's a volunteer effort. They're in the workforce. And if it's a fit afterwards, like it's been, fantastic. We really succeeded. If it's not a fit, at least that young person has a resume and some skills, and off they can go, right?
Yeah, they have some real work experience behind them now that it's on paper.
It's an incredible gift you're providing people.
It's just
through that.
We're just trying to get them up that first step, right? That first step's so hard sometimes. That's really what it was about for me. And it started on a Porsche weekend up on the Central Coast, driving our cars, having fun. And you stop. In this particular time we stopped, it was night, fire pit, wine. Jeff Trask, who passed away, was sitting with me, and it's like, we're all blessed. How do we give back? That was the conversation, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that aren't in the community look at us and say, oh, you guys are all privileged. And that would be a fair view because everyone can have their perspective. I tend to look at it as these are a lot of people that put their heart and soul into something or many things, and it's a blessing. But it's like, given that, how do you give back? How do you make a difference back? And that's where it all started.
Well, you took the time to ask the question, quite frankly. Not everybody does.
Yeah. And for me, it's a side passion. I have a very full-time day job, so I can't technically spend every hour on this. I'd love to.
I know we probably can't say the names of the company, but can we say a general roundabout of what you do?
You can just say large, if not largest, professional services firm on the globe. You could say that.
Okay.
But I mean, as far as encapsulating what you do.
So most of my career has been advising senior execs, CEOs, and their direct reports on the topic of growth. So how do you get a company to grow more, to be more prosperous? Sometimes that means how do you go find the money, which means doing the less than stellar things like trimming costs, et cetera. But oftentimes it's about growth. And in fact, in that, I've really specialized in merger integration. So helping clients to think about an acquisition and then think about, okay, that's really cool. You were on CNBC, this big moment, you look at me and pound my chest. I bought this asset, or I've merged with someone. Now what are you going to do with it, right? I always tell people, like, what do you do for a living? I always say I'm a high-end plumber. I plumb together the companies.
Because you're rerouting and putting, that's very interesting.
But it's a fascinating time because if you think about a company, and especially in today's context, I mean, some of the transactions I've worked on are tens of billions of dollars of shareholder money being put into play. And it's both the most exciting and opportunistic time for a company, and it's also the time when they're the most frail and or at risk.
Yeah.
So it's a really fascinating time, and careers are on the line. Some people are going to go, some people are going to stay. How you have people go matters to me, at least, that you do it in a very civil and informed way. So it's been an amazing place to work. I mean, you're at this, as I said earlier, it's if you make it personal, that their mission is your mission, you've got to help them succeed and get over this chasm and bring these companies together so that they generate not only profits, but generate opportunity for other people. It's a really cool thing to do for a living. So I've been very blessed. And sometimes, I mean, you're much like your careers, you're the person in the back, right? I'm not the guy that's going to be on the podium.
If we do our job well, you don't know we exist.
I'll never forget one client, CEO of a big tech company that everyone would know him if I said the name. It was on CNBC, and he
who is it? Just kidding.
Out through his mouth come the words, and you're like, I wrote those. That was as a younger professional, you're like, wow, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I've had clients where it's not just a financial thing. This isn't sort of a greed and wealth thing. It's usually about making a difference. And I've had some life sciences clients, in particular biotech clients, where I'll never forget one of my favorite clients that we served, and it was very personal. And I've served this client several times in different capacities. We were bringing together two clinical diagnostic companies that do a lot of molecular research tools. And we found that together, by putting the two companies together, they actually had an ability to diagnose for a female breast cancer earlier. But not just earlier, because earlier makes a difference, but when someone has breast cancer, it's not just speed, but they may or may not be genetically predisposed to the oncological protocol.
Different pathways.
13% of women are not predisposed to that. So if time is the real important element and you're putting them down the standard track, you're wasting time, even though you've diagnosed early. And this test would allow them to understand, you take them down track A, B, C, and you're like, this is making a difference in life, right?
The math of all that makes perfect sense, and I would understand why somebody would want to do that. But how do you get the information on both of those companies at that level to know that, okay, with these capabilities and these capabilities, if we merge them together, how do you get that information to be able to then make that assessment and that
And
decision?
I'm not the scientist, right? But it's a lot.
Oh, I see. Somebody else.
Yeah, you're convening. So to go legal for a second, the antitrust laws in the U.S. in particular, but throughout the world, talk about what you can and can't do in mergers. And there's a period where you sign, like you agree.
These are the rules that keep the S&E rolling, basically, right?
It's sort of fairness and objectivity. But there's a period between signing and closing when all the regulators do their evaluations. Is this going to create a monopoly? And in that period, we do a lot of work to plan. And there's things that you can and can't do in that period. You can plan organization, you can plan processes, you can plan
logistics
structure,
are okay.
all those things. And so we do a lot of that work. And
So you're ready to go once they say
when they close,
green light, good to go.
You're in execution mode. And it's great for the shareholders, it's great for the organization. It's
Gotcha.
very
So you're
good
not
for
the one
customers.
saying, oh, this is the idea. We need to take X
Correct.
company and Z company.
And there's
but once
sometimes-
someone makes that decision, they call the guy like you who goes,
right.
all right, I know how to do
Here's
this.
how to do it.
I get called
That's
sometimes
that's the plumber element. Gotcha.
to kick the tires a little bit, like they're thinking about an acquisition, and go take a look with everything you know and see if it's going to make sense for us.
Consultant basis type of thing.
Different play. And then as far as the science, sometimes you can't talk about that in this period, but you can put it into what's called a clean room, where it's sort of like the Roach Motel. Things go in, they can't come back out until close, but you can go in and do that kind of science work in there. So
That's
it's
so
very
interesting to me. And
Very
just the
detailed.
whole element of the whole, insider trading and it's every, you know what I mean? Because it's all
Oh, yeah.
information is money.
It sounds like a higher level of what I used to do with business development and like creating a place where, okay, green light, you develop away. But if the green light doesn't happen, like no harm, no foul.
That's right. That's exactly right. So then,
And
most
then
of these
also
deals
the
happen.
strategy of getting the plumbing right, though, also to make sure that flow goes where you want it to go.
And look, it's
Yeah.
a very difficult landscape. If you look at, there's a variety of studies around the efficacy of this, even one by yours truly. More fail than succeed. So you could ask, like, well, why do we need the plumber? Well, more fail than succeed. So you want to have someone that's navigated this before. I think you get pattern recognition skills somewhere after your sixth transaction, right? And it's like you start to see where
More
things are coming.
mergers, acquisitions and mergers fail
Yeah,
than
just-
succeed. Is that what we're saying? More of more.
More fail than succeed.
I understand, but
Yeah.
more acquisitions and mergers fail than succeed. Is that what we're
Correct.
saying? Okay,
Correct.
got it.
And the whole merger thing is fascinating because people say, is there really such a thing as a merger? I mean, a merger would say sort of equals, right? And
Having my tooth out, I spend a lot of time in bed. I rewatched Mad Men quite a bit, so
There you
there's a
go.
heck of a lot of that. They merge and sell the company a number of times, so I was watching it quite a bit. I agree with what you're saying now, but only because it's so fresh in my mind. It's all monopoly money. We're just moving stuff around on
moving
paper.
around. And there's going to be a CEO. There's going to be a CFO. Where'd they come from, right?
It's all templates. At some point, it's all templates. So
That's
you
right.
know how to read them. And
That's right.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Take the money from here, put it over here, hire this guy. We got a business.
And we got customers to serve at the end of the day. Business has to keep going. So early on, it's all about stability. And then it's about, okay, now how do you unleash the power of this combination?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. I love to use the word combination more than merger or acquisition because it really speaks to why are we coming together, right? At some
Accommodation, is that
stage-
what you said?
combination.
Accommodation, yeah, sure.
So it's like we're trying to come together. So it's not adversarial because early on, let me tell you,
But
beyond all the science, there's personalities in this. Like, if someone could say,
You
like,
don't
what do you
say.
really do? I'm a marriage counselor, maybe is the way I would put it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got big personalities that have been doing what they're doing and doing it really well for a long time. And
Stuck in their ways.
that first day, they're looking across the aisle, and even if you convene 50 of them in a room, they'll sit 25 and 25. I mean, and you really know you've succeeded when it's blended together.
Speaking to you for only, 45 to an hour, whatever it's been already, I feel like what we actually do for a living was not all that dissimilar. I always fancied myself, well, it was a producer or whatever the title was, I'm a communicator.
Yeah.
The Eameses were communicators. They made furniture, they made a house, they made all sorts of cool things, but they were communicators.
Right.
They were able to change perspectives, move things around, understand things from different places. That seems to be what your specialty is. If you cut everything down to it, you're just a communicator who knows how to talk to really almost everybody.
I think that's my stock and trade when it's all said and done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
that
that's
is
true.
valuable.
And there's a term that's now being popularized a bit, convening, right? Where I think we used to talk about facilitating. This notion of being able to convene groups, and do it in a way where you've got a mission and an expectation, and
You
how
bring the
And
right
everyone
people
pulling-
together.
Yeah, that's
Everyone
really
pulling in the right
powerful.
direction.
Yeah.
So we were talking about earlier, like sometimes it's hard to separate the personal life and the work life a little bit.
Yeah.
And
For all of us.
For all of us, right? And I try and make work personal because I think that's my superpower, right? It's like if
Yeah.
I make it personal, then I'm going to really commit myself to it. And if it's not, it's just a transaction.
Well, it's not
Like,
business at that point. It's like
Yeah.
the whole, like, it's business, not personal. It's like, I could never follow that because it's all the same.
Yeah, it's sort of
Someone's
that's like
getting
sandpaper.
treated. Someone's going to deal personally with the ramifications of everything that you do.
Right.
So it's all personal, even if it's business oriented.
Well, I've had CEOs that, you're talking about headcount reduction and you're using thousands, just like it's a loose term.
You talking about when the Bobs come in?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Bob and Bob. Exactly.
Bob and Bob.
God, that's a great reference, by the way.
It is.
One of my
for what
favorite
for the
scenes.
for that
Absolutely.
the consultants.
And
Office Space for anyone who doesn't know it.
and I always have to be the one that says, but for every one of those people that are in play, it's 100%. Right? It's not a 1 of 5,000. It's 100%. So how you do it, and how you help them separate what you do in terms of financial, all those things matter. Right? Doing it right matters.
Yeah, I appreciated you saying that before. I just
You're
go
a
to
good
that.
man for thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and I left the firm I worked for a few years and became a client. And lo and behold, my job was to double the company and do exactly what I did inside the firm. And I remember a board member saying, look, if we're going to let this many people go, what's going to be the claim instance that we have to deal with, and we provision money for those claims.
Right.
And I think I got everyone in the executive team really mad, but I'm like, we're not going to have any claims. We're going to do this in a way where we'll be claim free. And a couple of board members said, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm just focused on, if I don't get it there, feel free to diminish my bonus or whatever. If I don't have that
mission.
target, then we will for sure undershoot. If we set that target, we have a chance. And we did. It's powerful.
That's
right?
awesome.
You hit it?
Absolutely.
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 Look at that. Bravo.
awesome.
Bravo.
Yeah. So work is good, and it's when the kids were younger, sometimes it felt like it took you away from family. And, to all three of my kids, I think they've been incredible in terms of growing through that. Times where they're like, Dad, you're not around enough. Get all that. They were right.
Yeah.
Now I think they've seen some things that, those conference calls you're taking on the drive when you're going up to the Sierras, and like, Dad, get off the phone. And you're like, now I'm hearing my eldest say, yeah, I've listened to all those conversations for X number of years, and I remembered all of them, and I'm using them all.
I was going to say, what are they taking from it? Yeah. Bravo.
Yeah.
You must feel pretty good about yourself. I hope you do.
That is the consummate question, though. Like, are we doing it right? Have we done it right?
How do you
As I
feel?
get older,
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I soul search that a lot, and life hasn't been perfect. I mean, I have made more than my fair share. I would actually say, like, if the index was, here's what good looks like, I've made 2x, if not 3x, the mistakes that people make in life. I always joke with the kids, like, how many times do you think I've been fired? And they're like, once? Yeah, ratchet that up.
Is what it is. Yeah.
A lot.
That's
right?
what it is.
So I've pushed the edges a little bit, and I've made my mistakes. But I think as I get older and I look at, where I'm headed, and none of us get to pick the last day, but, assuming that the last day was tomorrow, just for sake of discussion, I'd feel like I'd made my mistakes professionally, and I'd feel like I did the things that probably mattered right. So not perfect by any measure, right? Like, just wouldn't even think that that's what you want to get out of life.
Yeah.
But I think I've done more of the things that matter right, and more of the things that at the end of the day we think matter when you're 20, and when you're 55 they don't matter. I've made my mistakes there. So maybe it all worked out. I don't know.
I have to tell you, there was other things I wanted to talk about, but we've done the time. I would love to end it there if you agree to come back some other time, because I'd love to just get into the generic conversation stuff with you.
Hey, if we can do the dude that's playing a dude disguised as another dude.
It's your segment. It's your segment.
I'm all in. I'm all in. I loved being here today. Thank you so much for having me.
I had such a great time talking to you, but we said this all the time, but I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface. We're still getting to know each other.
It's all good. I'm going to come to Breakfast Club one of these mornings where I don't have a
Please
global
do.
flight to be on. And
So glad.
Please
yeah,
do.
scoot up and see.
Lots of people are coming up from down your neck of the woods these days, so
Good.
you could probably have a
Good.
drive up with several people.
Well, I'll tag along with Paul. I mean,
So that was the other thing. We didn't see you this weekend. I thought for sure we'd see you at one of those events.
didn't get back till
Out of the
Monday.
country.
That's it.
Out of the
Out of the
country.
country. Wow.
Got
That's
back,
amazing.
got the cars out though, so it's back in the saddle again.
Priorities.
Hilarious.
All right, let's see. We should talk about social media. Kevin Lynch, I know that you are on Instagram. Where on earth would people find you?
I am at Kevin.Lynch. So simple. Simple.
So creative. We'll put that up there. Where can people find you? Are you going to be at any events coming up, or I
Yeah.
usually see you at morning shift?
I love to go to morning shift. I think that's a really cool thing.
The
I
one down
do.
at the PEC, yeah?
At the
yeah,
PEC.
Jennifer Nicole's event.
I love
You
to.
got Jen.
I think that's a great event.
Yeah.
I do try and get to Enderley Coffee and Cars in
Oh, that's-
Tustin on Saturdays, and sometimes that, and do a twofer and go down to Crystal Cove, which is reemerging.
Oh, that's nice. Is Enderley basically the closest thing to the original Cars and Coffee at this point? Because I used to
think
go to the
so.
original one way back in the day, and then
think
they
so.
moved it to Mazda, and then
Well,
or maybe
the
it was
original
Mazda
one,
first.
interesting, it was actually at Crystal Cove originally, and then they got kicked out of there, and it went to Mazda.
No,
South
I knew
Florida.
that. That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yes.
And then, but I think the Porsche group sort of, when it splintered, as many people would say, they said Enderley was their place.
Okay.
So there's a really good crew there.
I
so
didn't realize the Porsche group
most-
splintered.
no, the car group splintered.
I
the
see.
Porsche faction went.
Oh, I see.
So there, and then this Sunday is the 356 concourse that used to be the Dana Point concourse. I'll get this right.
Oh,
But now it is
down at the
San
St.
Clemente.
Regis or whatever. Not
was-
there, but the other one.
It was the
street.
Marriott right there,
Yeah.
and now it is. It's in San Clemente, so that's Sunday, I believe, 9 to 2, and I will be there. That's going to be a good. The 356 group is gracious enough to say, all 356s, and then all the rest of you Porsche folks can show up too. So I'm gonna.
God, I love that.
I'll probably take the car down for that, and if people want to check us out. Our website is in dire need of some work, which.
For the Wolfpack?
For Wolfpack, I probably underserved this with the day job taking more time, but it's wolfpack901.com. It's very simple. So
Easy.
you can get to us there. My email's on there if you want to reach out to me. And contributions are obviously welcome. Volunteerism is also welcome. Hardest thing is finding the young people. It's not getting the money. It's finding the young people to help. So if there are anyone in the community that knows of a young person that this is a
Is
fit,
looking to, yeah.
reach out, please.
Awesome.
That's where I'd love some help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're great,
Thank
man.
you, guys. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Mrs. Ryan, what do we have?
When?
This weekend, I guess.
Breakfast
Let's see.
Club
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Oh, I know. The week is over already. Holy
Yeah.
smokes. It's Thursday. Oh, we were supposed to do a TBT. There was no time. Oh, my goodness. Well, tomorrow is Breakfast Club, as Mrs. Ryan pointed out. We'll be up there at 9 a.m. up at Newcomb's Ranch. The road's closed still. It's going to be closed through, the estimate is through October now. So I wouldn't count on the Crest being open all the way till at least the new year, I think. But Newcomb's is open. Alternate routes are open as well. And Saturday, Mrs. Ryan, we've got the Cars Coffee Chocolate Culver City. There it is. There's a new thing. This is our friend Gertrude.
Nice.
He's
Over at
a
Milla.
friend of ours who's been a Porsche
On Sunday.
fan for. Oh shoot, is that Sunday?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for saying that. So it's Sunday, not Saturday. 7:21, 8 to 10 a.m. We will be there as well. Mila Chocolates in Culver City. Should be a
Love
fun
those
one. Yeah,
guys.
and we know a
excited.
lot of friends who are coming to that one as well.
Yeah.
Should be good. That's it, Mrs. Ryan. I love you so very much. It's nice to look over at you that
Love
way.
you
I can
too.
even smile differently. It's kind of,
I see it on you. You look good.
Kevin Lynch, we love you so very
It was
much.
so great to be
So
here.
good to have you
Hope
here.
you enjoyed your experience, and
was awesome.
we love everybody at home. Please love one another. We'll see you all next week.
That was fun.